Conservative new media viewers, JLin fans around the world, what's up? It's me, PFV, Paul F. Villarreal, the NBA expert, and we're here to discuss yesterday night's Brooklyn 117-97 defeat to the Atlanta Hawks in Brooklyn, New York. Hawks improved to 22-16. They win their 7th straight game. Nets fall to 8-29, which is the worst record in the league, and they lose their 7th straight games. Sorry this video got delayed. I fell asleep last night, and I was going to make this a couple hours earlier today, but I just had some phone calls and other things that I had to take care of, so we're doing it now. What happened in this game was Atlanta was just better. They were sharper. They outscored the Nets in 3 out of 4 of the quarters, and they were really put the pounding on the Nets in the second quarter when they outscored them 26-14. So that's plus 12 in that quarter as well. Brooklyn didn't shoot well enough. They allowed the Hawks to shoot quite well, about 48% on the evening. Look, somebody asked me on Twitter, why is it that the Nets can't win a game? Well, we're in the situation now where they do have the worst record in the league. They are missing true experienced point guard play, of course, with Jeremy being out, and having to use a rookie in Isaiah Whitehead as the primary point guard right now, and Spencer Dinwiddie, who came from the D League, as their backup point guard. They don't have a tremendous amount of talent, and unfortunately, this is what you get. Add into that a rookie coach, a new system, and it's just it's where we're at right now. This is what we're seeing right now, and better teams are going to take advantage of that. Atlanta has fallen off substantially as the season has gone on. In fact, they've decided to kind of remake their team, which began with the trading of Kyle Korver to the Cleveland Cavaliers in the last few days. Still, Atlanta's a good team. They're a talented team. They're coached well. They have a good system, and they're just better than the Nets are right now. And unfortunately, that's how you end up with results like this. And it is tough. It's tough to watch. It's repetitive. It gets frustrating because it just feels like the Nets can't do anything. And we're just going to have to endure it right now. The good news, as I've said before, is that this is as bad as it's going to get. The other good news is that the Nets are beginning to make changes. And the first change that they made was they let go of backup big man Anthony Bennett, and they signed another big man, Quincy Acey, to a 10-day contract. Quincy Acey is, I think he's listed as both a small forward and a power forward, but the truth is he's a power forward. I don't think he really has the skill set to play as a small forward. He actually is relatively similar to Trevor Booker. And is Acey going to be some kind of miracle worker, or he's going to change everything? No. But he's a hard worker. He's tough. He's gritty. And maybe he can help out, and maybe he can get some minutes, whereas Anthony Bennett wasn't able to get a lot of minutes. I actually am somewhat surprised that they let Anthony Bennett go, to be quite honest with you. I thought Anthony Bennett had done reasonably well in the time that he was given, but obviously the Nets didn't feel that way, and so that's what it is. Now, I should also mention about Trevor Booker that he missed this game because of the hip contusion that he suffered in the previous game. And so we got yet another Brooklyn Nets starting lineup, which last night was Isaiah Whitehead, Joe Harris, Bojan Bogdanovic, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson started at power forward, and Brook Lopez. So there's another reason why the Nets weren't doing as great as they could have, because they were missing their starting power forward. And Hopefully Trevor Booker will be healthy soon. Hopefully Jeremy will be healthy soon. Speaking of Jeremy, somebody tweeted to me and to Linspired last night that they saw JLin practicing shooting when they got to the game. And what I think happened was they got to the game and the practice court, I believe, is in the facility. There is a practice court in Barclays Center, and apparently JLin was out there with his trainer and a couple other people, and Jeremy was shooting. This is good to hear, and it's good to see. And the person had a picture of it. Some people doubted the veracity of it, but the person actually had a picture of it. This isn't a surprise because Jeremy has said recently that he had begun shooting. Still, it's one step closer to Jeremy returning to practice, and soon after he returns to practice, he will then be able to return to games. Jeremy being out has made a dramatic impact on the team. Again, not only because Jeremy's good, but also Jeremy's an experienced quality point guard, and the Nets don't have that. So it's the real sad thing about Brooklyn being this bad is that they don't have their draft pick next year, which means if they were this bad and they had their draft pick, well, they get probably a good chance of getting a top 3 pick in the draft coming up, and this is going to be a good draft in 2017. Unfortunately, the Boston Celtics own their pick, so they don't get that luxury. And with Brooklyn not having some of their picks and not having a ton of talent, then it makes it more challenging to attract quality free agents. So it's a very difficult situation for Brooklyn right now. That said, I do think that the quality of the organization and the culture that Brooklyn is building will help them attract talent in the time to come. Even though they are missing some draft picks and some talent, they're building something here. It's just, unfortunately, these are difficult times, and we just have to kind of hang in there and wait through it. And I think things will get significantly better. As I said, there's a chance that Brooklyn is going to trade Brook Lopez. There's a chance that they could sign some other guys to 10-day contracts. What happens in January of the season, and I believe this is the case each year, January is when you can begin to sign players to 10-day contracts. I think what it is January 10th is the deadline to guarantee partially guaranteed contracts. And then I believe when that deadline passes, or somewhere around that time, actually that's not completely correct, then you are able to sign players to 10-day deals, meaning you can spend less money on shorter contracts and you can try out more players. And this is the trading season. Relatively soon, players will also be doing buyouts and things, and so there's a chance there might be more talent available relatively soon, and Brooklyn can bring in guys, and they can maybe they can cut some more players as they cut Anthony Bennett, and they can keep working guys out. Now, that isn't the top end of the talent pool. You're not going to get that at this point in the season, especially if you don't have a tremendous amount to trade. Brooklyn's primary trading asset right now is probably Brook Lopez. But it could help. It can shake things up. We can get a little bit further along. And as I said, the worst is probably behind us. And so hopefully, even though the Nets might not win a tremendous amount of more games going forward, they can start to perhaps bring in some more guys like Quincy Acey, change things up. Maybe they'll find somebody that fits pretty well and can help them, and so forth. Hopefully Jeremy will be getting healthy, etc. The other thing I should say about this game that has been mentioned on various media reports, and I tweeted about it last night, was there was a funny moment between JLin, who was on the bench, and Dwight Howard, who, of course, is a former teammate of Jeremy's when they both played in Houston. Dwight was going to the sideline to inbounds the basketball. So the ball had gone out of bounds, and Dwight was going, so he was going to be the one throwing in, and he was doing it right beside the Nets bench. And Jeremy had just been standing up, like kind of saying something to a teammate or whatever. And then Dwight pretended that he was going to shake Jeremy's hand or high-five him. Then when Jeremy went to shake Dwight's hand, Dwight pulled his hand back and and did what's called dabbing on Jeremy, kind of like a little diss, and you kind of pretend, you like fake the guy out, and then you do a little just kind of diss him a little bit, and with the little particular move. Dabbing on is a particular move or dance. I can't remember exactly, but it's something that Cam Newton made famous last year, and as a little celebration. So this has been reported in various things, and it was hilarious because after Dwight did that, then the crowd booed him. It was like, oh man, you faked him out. That's rude. And so the crowd booed him. Then Jeremy was like, oh, but it was all done in good fun. Look, Dwight's just a guy that likes to joke a lot. He's a guy that likes to just play around. And the truth is, Dwight and Jeremy get along really well. They're both very religious-oriented people. They like each other. It was just a joke. So it wasn't a serious thing. But it's the video of it's like, if you read reports about last night's game, you'll see it. Dwight dabs on JLin and all this stuff. So that was a funny moment in this thing. But like I said, it's don't take it seriously. It doesn't mean anything. It was just a little. Dwight's like a big kid. He just likes to have fun and play little jokes and stuff, and that's what this was. So that's pretty much the summary of this game. Look, it's another loss. It's too bad. I mean, again, trust me, I'm as frustrated as anybody else watching these losses. I mean, that's probably partially why I fell asleep last night, although I was just tired. But every game that goes by brings us closer to Jeremy coming back to the lineup, and it brings us closer to the Nets progressing and maybe getting some more talent, and honestly, it gets us closer to the end of the season. So this is what we have to endure right now, and one way to look at it is you can't enjoy the good times unless you have some bad time, because you don't have any perspective on how what you're enjoying when things are good. And so we'll all be able to look back on this and say, yeah, I remember that. That was tough when we won 18 games. And Jeremy was injured a lot of the season, which is not something that's typical for him. So that's kind of where it is. I mean, it's lack of talent, lack of point guard play, Jeremy being injured, new system, new head coach, trying to figure out the right lineups, and the guys, maybe some of the personnel on the team don't fit the system perfectly, as we've talked about with Brooke and some of the other players. And this is square one. This is year zero, and this is what it looks like. This is how it can be, and it will improve. Look, we know that Sean Marks, the general manager, tried to get Tyler Johnson. He tried to get Alan Crabb. They tried to get Donatas Motiejunas. So they're doing things. It's just that right now we're stuck with this. It will get better. It will get better. So as usual, I encourage people to hang in there. Just stick around. And look, as I said, hopefully Jeremy will be back soon, and hopefully he will be able to stay healthy for the rest of the season, because regardless of what happens with the team, regardless of whatever the team's record ends up being this season, Jeremy personally has things that he wants to accomplish. He has things that he needs to improve upon, that he wants to work out. He wants to get comfortable in this system. He wants to make sure that his three-point shot is where he wants it to be. He wants to continue to work on his individual moves and so forth. And I know Jeremy was very much looking forward to this season. And obviously it's been a disappointment so far, but there's plenty for him to do regardless of whatever the team record is. So this is not a lost year for him, no matter what. And so that's important, and hopefully he can be back in the near future, and he will be able to work on those things so that when the team is hopefully better next season, Jeremy will be ready to roll. Look, he started off great this year. There were real aspirations. I thought he had a real shot at the All-Star game, which is probably not going to happen now because he's missed so much time. And he just needs to pick it up, like I said, so that next season he's where he wants to be, and his skill level's a little bit higher. He's more comfortable with the system. He's more comfortable with his teammates, and he can make a real push as a leader of the team, make a push for the All-Star game, and so forth. And that's about it. Like I said, I mean, that's pretty much it for where the team is at and where things are about this game. I will also say this. Look, I don't know where Jeremy's injury is right now. My own personal guess, Jeremy's been out now for about 2 weeks. Okay? If I had to guess, my guess is he's out another week. But I think in about a week or so, he's going to be coming back. If this is the level of injury that I think that it is, which is a grade 1, most minor hamstring, usually you're good in about 3 weeks or thereabouts. The signs have been good for Jeremy so far. He's already shooting. He's moving around. He's doing some things. They are really cautious with him, and they should be cautious with him. You're not going to the playoffs. You do not want one of your main talents in Jeremy to have chronic hamstring issues. Let him rest. He's never had issues before, and suddenly he's had 2 hamstring issues on the same leg. Let him rest to a maximum level, to a maximum reasonable level. And if this is a grade 1 hamstring pull, 3 weeks is a manageable level, and we're 1 week away from that right now. So maybe that's about the time frame. And if he comes back and he can play the rest of the season, then that's it. Okay, the first half of the season's done. Fine. Let's have a good second half of the season. Work on those things that I mentioned. And let's be ready to go for next year when hopefully the team is more where they want to be. And, yeah, and that's pretty much it. So let's discuss the next game coming up. That next game will take place tomorrow, Thursday, January 12th. It will be against the New Orleans Pelicans in Brooklyn, New York. And it will take place at 7:30 p.m. on the East Coast here in the United States. You can catch the game on Yes Network if you have access to it. And if not, you'll be able to watch it on NBA League Pass. The Pelicans they're not a great team. They're probably not going to make the playoffs in the West. It is a winnable game, but the Pelicans will probably be favored. They're improving. They actually are the ones that ended up signing Donatas Motiejunas. They have some talent. Obviously, they have Anthony Davis, who is a tremendous player. And it's going to be kind of like the Sixers game. I mean, the Nets will probably have an opportunity to compete and win the game. Hopefully they'll be able to do that. One other thing I will mention from the game last night. Continue to enjoy the progress of Caris LeVert. He had 11 points in the game. You can see the talent for him. He is definitely a bright spot so far this season. And as I mentioned in a previous video, one thing that Caris definitely needs to do is work on his strength, work on his weight training, just to be able to deal with the physicality of the NBA more. But definitely the talent is there, and he's somebody to keep your eye on, because he's definitely somebody that can help the team in going forward into the future. So that was a bright spot, and I'm really happy with how he's playing. Also, there was a very nice feature in the New York Times about Karis LeVert in the last few days. They're basically talking about him and what he does, and his time off, time away from the court and stuff. It just seems like a really good guy. We certainly hope he's able to stay healthy. Again, he's coming back from like a stress fracture in one of his feet. He's had some injury issues in college, I believe. And hopefully he can begin healthy, because he can stay healthy, because, like I said, he's definitely a talented piece that can help the team work well with Jeremy going into the rest of this season and going into the seasons to come. That is about it. Hope you're having a great night or great day wherever you are around the world when you watch this video. Once again, I am PFE Paul F. Villarreal, the NBA expert. Thanks a lot for watching Conservative New Media. We strive to be the #1 JLin YouTube fan channel. We, like I said, look, let's watch the game tomorrow. Let's keep listening to information about Jeremy. Again, the next thing we should hear as regards Jeremy is what I expect is, when does he return to practice? That's the next piece of information that I think is probably relevant from the team. And when he returns to practice, then it's probably a couple days away from being able to play in games. So we will talk to you again tomorrow. Have a great 36 hours or whatever it is between now and then, as the Brooklyn Nets host the New Orleans